Well, now I find myself, for example, current relationship, we spent months and months on the phone, and you get to know somebody in a friendship way, in a different intimate level. And so I think that has been why I've been able to be successful in the relationship I'm in today, is because we did establish that stuff up front, rather than vice versa. And then so when we finally got to dating, like it's like, okay, now let's figure out the other part of that.
Welcome, Lindas.
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to A Couple Lindas, because we're just a bunch of Lindas out here trying to figure out this life thing, and what helps? Wine and talking with your friends.
Honey, I know that's right. There's a lot of work that goes into this life.
So much work. I am joined with Ryan, who is within corporate learning, right?
That's true.
That is true.
That is true.
And I'm with Justin, who is a pilot.
I am.
You are, yeah. So welcome. So Ryan, we've known each other a long time.
I was talking to somebody earlier about this, and I used the number 19. And I was like, I think we've known each other since we were 19. But when we were talking at dinner, it has to be closer to 2021 time frame.
Yeah.
But it's just like, man, there's been so much that's happened between now and then, and just the run-ins that we've had over the years have just been so sporadic, but it just seems like we've known each other for so long, which obviously we have. So
yeah, we met when we were club kids.
Yep, that's dancing on boxes.
But like we knew each other peripherally. We didn't really become friends until you came to visit in Vegas.
Yeah, that's right. So the first time I think we had any interaction with some of your friends from where you live was a New Year's one year. And my friend Dustin was living with me. And we had several of the acquaintances that he knew over the years. And through our work at the organization he and I were both working at. And he was like, let's invite some of these folks from Cookville to come over. And they did. So I met our friend Brian and Jonathan and all these great people. And it's history from there. But until you and I actually hung out one-on-one-ish or with the group was the trip to Vegas. That was, I remember I was 22. And that's when I went out there. Yeah. Because you're driving that orange Jeep.
Yep. I think I'd maybe been out there I'd been out there about a year. Okay. By that point, a year and a half. And then I met Justin when I came down to visit you in Atlanta.
Yes. Actually, we met before.
Here in Nashville?
In Nashville. Whenever Ron and I were dating the first time. The Christmas party.
Yes, because I did know you. But we only got to talk a little bit when we were in Atlanta, or really kind of engage with each other when we were in Atlanta. Okay.
Man, those Christmas parties.
So that was in 2010?
12. Like, was it just when I moved back?
Whenever I met you at the Christmas party was 2010, and then Atlanta was 2013.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a very hot minute.
But yeah, welcome. So to start us off, what is putting a smile on your face this week?
So what is putting a smile on my face is that Lady Gaga announced that she was doing the 2-year
Vegas
concert. She's doing a
kind of like a Britney, Cher,
and Mariah Carey.
I mean, everyone's forgetting Celine right now, I feel like.
Cool. So you're a big Lady Gaga fan?
I am. I really like her music. I've seen every concert tour except I didn't get to see this one, so I'm going to hope to make it up in Vegas and see more than one.
Nice.
Yeah, I heard it was amazing.
Oh, I bet it. I mean, it's Lady Gaga. Anything that she does is amazing. I mean, you can see that she went from her monster stage of the Bad Romance all the way to Tony Bennett jazz.
Yes.
Christmas music. I mean, anything that she does, she puts her heart in it.
Yeah. She's quite a performer. I mean, I always loved her singles that were out. They were a lot of fun to hear while you're out dancing. But it wasn't until like this year, her last tour, that I actually went to a concert. I was like, okay, you are a craftsman. Like, you are doing the work. You are an artist. You are a true artist. And so, yeah, cool. I don't know. Maybe I should like meet you in Vegas.
I mean, the first and only time I saw her, she was like all over, like lighting her piano on fire and like breaking glass. I was like, this is really cool. I want more of this.
Well, do you remember when she came out and she did her performance on the Ellen stage? And I mean, she was playing the piano. I mean, she even got up and was playing the piano with like her feet. And I mean, just that performance, and you can still find it on YouTube, is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I've not seen that. Check it out.
Gotta see that. What is putting a smile on your face, Ryan?
So there are a couple things. The first is, I mean, I have not seen either of you in so long, so I've really been looking forward to this. So just simply being here is awesome to spend time with you guys. But this year, so I have an interesting family dynamic, and I have a sister who's about to be 6 years old. And so she's really starting to get to the point where the joy of Christmas and all of the things that come with that are coming to life. And, to understand like what the first snow is and that family's coming in and Santa's coming, she gets it now. So just to be a part of the childhood adventure side of that with someone who's a sibling and not your own child is really cool to experience. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, because like we're right now in that age group where Christmas has lost a little bit of its magic,
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm dealing with, where it's like, like Christmas is nice because I get a few days away from work and everything, but there's really no excitement left. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
Well, and something that
I think mine is changing. This has been like one of the most Christmases I'm actually more excited about.
Why is that?
I'm doing Christmas tomorrow night with my dad and my sister, and then I'm going on to my mother's, and then I'm going to do Christmas with my mother and my sister again, and then on the day after Christmas we do Christmas with the whole family.
And I haven't done the Christmas tree thing in several years, just living in, as small space. Like you just tend to not make room for it, if you will, because number one, both of us travel a lot. So to have a tree is like, it's one of those things that's more of a hassle than anything, but something that my family does, specifically my stepmom and her family. Christmas is a very special time of year. And this year will be a little bit tough because we lost one of our, my grandfather, Nancy's father. And so to have the family come together and for her to keep the spirit of Christmas alive, even for me, it's the only time of the year that I really get to experience that all families coming together, no matter who shows or who doesn't. It's such a special time, and she makes that really special, and she makes an effort. And I have my boyfriend coming to visit from overseas, and she specifically called me to say, hey, when your dad and I were first dating 20 years ago, like there was a certain kind of experience that I really wanted him to have by coming home and visiting with me. And so she took the time out to call me and ask me, like, is there something special that you want Jake to experience during this time? And even though that's not my focus right now, I just thought it was really sweet and special that she would even.
That's awesome.
So that puts a smile on my face, just knowing that she would take the time to ask.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge for a parent, even if it's like a gay relationship, or even if you have a deeply religious family and like maybe you're not married yet and it's like a whole big thing, but no, that's awesome.
Yeah. And she does, and they do that with anybody who's in my life. Like, they have always taken the person in, which I think is very special.
Good. I'm in the same boat where I've not put up a Christmas tree or done any decorations in probably 16 years, I guess, since I left home, because it was always my job to put up the tree at home. So it felt like more of a chore to me. So since I've been out on my own, I've just not bothered to do it. But I always love it when I go to my mom's house and it's up and everything's lit. It's everything.
Well, the one thing I'll add to that, and this is so different, but people never experience. Did you guys ever do, or have you seen a flocked tree before? A flocked Christmas tree?
What is that?
So in California, this was huge back in the day. They'd go and chop down trees. You could go in the mountains and do it. But there were a lot of allergies. So those that were really allergic, that wanted real trees, they would spray this flocking, which is and my mom was so allergic. It was a really, really thick white, like hard substance that they would spray on it to cover like the scent, and so it would prevent allergy. My grandmother's allergic, my mom was allergic, but it looked like legitimate snow, not like these fake white Christmas trees you go and buy at Walmart, but legitimate snow covered Christmas tree. And so I always grew up decorating those, which was awesome because you could fit like 15 ornaments on one branch because it was so thick. Like you could stick them all over the place. And so that was one of my favorite childhood memories growing up. So, but I have never seen that after I left California.
Nice.
So
I guess what's making me happy or putting a smile on my face is
us.
Yes. Well, because like you were kind of touching on, it is a time to see family and friends that feel like family.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody's coming home to visit. And so in, you know, my small town, we have a lot of traditions. And so, for example, one of them is like we went caroling the other night.
Oh, that's fun.
Which is, you know, we get deeply libated at a friend of ours owns a bar, so we'll go to their place and have a few drinks and practice, if you will, and then we'll go around la 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 and kind of surprise diners at different restaurants in town. We'll just kind of bust up in there, you know, spreading Christmas cheer,
Rocking around that Christmas tree.
yeah, we are. And then
fun.
and then we'll go around to a couple of friends' homes and, you know, sing.
Continue.
And then there's one family in particular that whenever we go over, they always have like a tray of shots for us ready to go. Usually a whiskey. I think there was like
Can we go back there a second time?
Let's go back there. So there's that, and then there's a tradition of a Christmas night party, which we weren't sure if it was going to happen this year, but it is, and it, you know, maybe the last year. But yeah, like family time for Christmas, we usually keep it pretty low key. We'll do like a big Thanksgiving, but Christmas is usually pretty low key. And so I have, you know, kind of my, you know, cookful family, and so I'll go back home and usually, you know, hang out with everybody else there. There's a party because, you know, Christmas isn't always like a happy time for everyone.
Right.
You know, like I feel like we're lucky in that it's a joyous time for us. And so sometimes people want to, like, they're ready to be away from their family. So they'll, you know, there's a place for us all to kind of gather and catch up and, you know, dance and drink and eat and all that good stuff and catch up with everyone. So it's a good time. So that is what I am excited about.
Yeah, I love that.
And the second thing that I'm excited about is this conversation.
So much to discuss.
So much to discuss. And like whenever we get together, it goes all over the map. Because I know, like with Ryan, you know, even though we kind of met out in the, you know, the dance scene,
Yeah.
whenever we get together, we always just end up having these really like great conversations. And like, I always just kind of like, Justin, you're kind of learning this about me. I always like to just kind of drill in. I'm like, okay, so tell me about this. And
It's
so
not like, let's not beat around the bush. Let's just get to the conversation.
let's get right to it.
I love that.
So the topic we are discussing is, you know, friendships with former lovers, former partners, former boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. And it's been a question that I've been asked a lot. And like, how do you stay friends with someone that you used to date or be intimate with? Because so often people just, you know, go their separate directions. And so you guys have been, you know, really close friends. You know, you've dated, you know, kind of off and on there for a few years, but, you know, now you're kind of really working on building a solid friendship. So talk to us a little bit about, you know, how you got to this place.
Well, it's not an easy place to get to, first of all.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever you want to cut their tires and
So let's just say that before we matured a little bit, which I think we'll get to, Justin did not have the same feeling that I did about being friends with exes in general. And I think when we started dating, we had this conversation somehow, and he was like, oh no, like I just could not be friends with an ex. And so I have to say, so let me just back up. When we first met, one of our mutual friends was living with them, and I could not. I could not stand the guy.
he was in love.
I didn't want to be around him. And I remember one time we were walking by Three Crow, and I saw him, and I just remember he didn't even say hello. And I was like, one of my good friends lives with you. You know who I am. What is going on? And I said, hey. And he just like just walked away from me. I was like, this is awesome. And so I remember when we very first went out on our first date, I was
How about you back up a little bit?
Ooh.
And we'll get to. So, Desiree, you can edit this, right?
Yes.
Pensacola.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was in between this time you saw me at
See,
Three
what
Crow.
happened was.
Yeah, but this was between
We
the
went on
time-
a date after Pensacola,
Yes.
and we had met before Pensacola.
That's right. So there's one interaction.
So there was
Not what you think, not what y'all think. It was not like
No.
that.
Well, that's what
I can also
Pensacola
say
is, though.
that
He was a gentleman and dropped me off at my suite that I
I
was
did.
staying at. You did. After I fell down, I think getting like a hot dog outside of the bar.
But that goes
On
back
my
to
face.
most people today, they like meet on like Grindr, Scruffers, something like that. We met through mutual friends.
Yeah.
And then we saw each other on vacation in quotation marks.
Memorial Weekend, honey.
But we didn't do a hookup type
No.
ordeal.
Right.
Yes, we may have made out on the dance floor, but I mean, that's all it was. And I did drop you back off at your hotel and say, okay, get out.
Yeah, but I thought, okay, so I know friends who know him, and I might have this perception because what he didn't know is that we were both he was in flight school, I was in flight school, and I had transferred in. So I knew who he was. And you must have been a flight instructor at the time. Were you doing that at MTSU?
No, I was working for a
National seating.
regional airline.
Okay. Well, anyway, I knew who he was, and I never got this welcoming ever anything anytime I ever saw him. So then we saw each other in Pensacola, clearly got along, and what really were
Clearly.
yeah, gentlemen.
Clearly.
So we're gonna get to how we get to the being friends, but so we went on a date, and I just had this surgery that I had elected for, and it's like he didn't even see that. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, this is someone I definitely want to, I'll go on a date with him. I'll suffer through it. And we had such an awesome time. We ended up going from the restaurant to the greenhouse in Green Hills.
Oh, I
had a
love
great
that
time.
place.
And then we made this plan. The next morning, we were going to go to Six Flags.
This was
And-
after.
And I had just had my
a couple
head
of drinks.
sliced open. And I was like, let's go. And in the morning, he was down. So I was like, okay. So we had a great conversation, and he's like down to be spontaneous, which I was always that way.
Yeah.
So I was really attracted to that. And so fast forward, we were dating, and we actually were double dating with my friend and I were dating one of our mutual friends at the same time. And I think that probably helped because I was young and had been in a previous relationship, but I had not dated in a very long time. And so I was in the middle of like, go out with my friend.
Yeah.
And he and I were really close. And so it's like this person and I were inseparable. And then we both started dating somebody that we're all mutual friends. And so then one of my friends and I went on this trip together, and it was all fine. We were on a gay cruise.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fine. Like, I was so committed and dedicated. Like, I was totally fine. But then we came back, and there was this other Justin in my life at the time. And there was this stupid, ridiculous, random makeout scene that happened. And it was sort of like an attack that happened, but I went along with it.
Yeah.
And then I just tried to pretend it didn't happen. Well, that didn't go well because everyone knows everybody. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Kissing is
yeah, it's yeah.
ugly
So
neighbor.
bottom line is I made the mistake, and so that didn't go over well at all.
We had some words.
Yeah.
I remember you saying, because you left to go to work, and I stayed at your house.
Yeah.
And you saying that you came back expecting all the mirrors to be broke in your house.
A little crazy. But they weren't. And
But
so,
they were.
Yeah,
because we needed to discuss it and talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just over time, like, and we can jump to the other part of our relationship. But the thing that was about us is, I think the first time that we dated and had to go around, the truth of the matter is it was a more sexually charged relationship. Like, that was like our attraction. And
There was.
yeah, that was,
I know
it was
we'll get
fun.
to the second part of the second time that we dated, but you are correct. The first part of our relationship, it was very sexual.
Yeah, it was very intimate. That's what it was about.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was a,
Because we didn't know each other well
Yeah.
enough.
But there's just like this.
but there
magnetism.
wasn't a connection as far as like, I don't want to say talking, but we talked.
Yeah, we
but
could
we
still
didn't
communicate
really get to know each other on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to break up in that type of situation, and I think it was more of a we broke up pause because you were about to be 30 at that time. You're so young.
25.
Ish. And so there was a lot of tension. And that was the point in time where like your friends know everything. They're involved in your relationship. Like there is no secrets. There's no separation between your friendships and your relationship.
Yeah.
For me, really, because I was going out so much because I was so responsible through college and younger that I never went out and did things. I had friends, like I had a good time, but I wasn't irresponsible.
Yeah.
And this was sort of the irresponsible part of my life.
Kind of
And
like a second adolescence.
yeah, but our relationship was like the one responsible part of it. So when I found a way to kind of sabotage it and get out of it, I didn't take advantage of it, but I didn't prevent that from happening either. So to come out of that from someone who is super like responsible, I mean, flying people around, like you can't mess around and things like that. I think our maturity level was at a different place at that time. So the first time we came out of that, I remember going to your birthday and one of your really good friends was there. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, she is killing me. She's like
Judging
burning,
you
she is
because
burning
she was.
holes through me right now. And, but you know what? That's part of the experience. And so we didn't talk for a long time. Really until you were moving to Atlanta.
So I moved back to Atlanta, and I told you that I was moving to Atlanta.
And I remember, so I moved to Atlanta. It's been this February 6th, Super Bowl weekend, that's how I remember, will be the 5th year. So I moved in 2013. And I just remember how tough it was moving there. And while we didn't have this close connection, when I had heard through the grapevine that there was some sort of possibility that he was going to move. And I spent a year and a half having such a tough time, or a little over a year, that I was like, you know what? I knew that I had messed up and I knew that I'd apologized and we came a long way. And then just finally got to the point where we just couldn't. And there were several like bar moments where I had a good girlfriend that when I broke up with somebody previously, like she inherited me in the relationship. And then when he and I weren't together and I moved, they started hanging out more. There's like all these weird things that were going on. So I just knew like, okay, I've gotten over this. We've been apart long enough where we haven't even been talking. And when I first reached out, there was like not a whole lot of responsiveness because he had always told me like, we're not going to be friends. Like we're not going to talk. And that was
Which
your
is
thing.
true, because out of everyone I've ever dated, Ron is the only person that I will or think that I would like to remain friends with. Because whenever you date someone, there's too much there. I feel like there's too much animosity, I guess is a good word
Well,
to use.
intimacy was one, and
But
then it goes to
It
betray.
brings
Like,
up
you betrayed
those
me.
old feelings of, okay, so we were together, but it didn't work out between us. I don't know. I'm just one of those people. I just can't be friends with an ex because it brings up too many old memories.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
So I think, the way that we got to part 2 was we actually established a friendship. And I think that's the only reason we're able.
We lived in the same building together.
That's your fault. I tried to deter that. So when I was I was like, hey, listen, come to town. If you need to look around, stay with me, check out the building. I want to show you around. There's a couple of people I've met here through our friend Lance that have been really amazing people. So instead of you going through all this drama that I had to go through, meeting bar friends in a new big city and all of this materialism, just Atlanta's filled with a lot of things that I think have made its way to Nashville, but didn't exist here when I lived here. So I didn't want him to experience that. And because I still really felt a connection, like I don't want him to go through those things, and we can at least maybe establish a friendship. And so we did. He came and hung out, and there was a couple of, ex-boyfriend moments where, at first it probably shouldn't have been.
Probably a little awkward, but you know what?
Yeah.
I remember before, we started like talking again for that second time, where we would go out to dinner. I mean, we had really good time, good conversation.
Yeah. There's always fun. There's always laughter.
that is one thing that we've always been able to maintain is we can have good conversation together.
Yeah.
And I think it was fun because the first time we dated also, like, I did live here. Like, my family was involved. He was during Christmas season, actually came over for like Christmas Eve. So got to know my family. I think ran into them at like my Aunt Kim and Alyssa one time at a store. They were very cordial and how are you? So
And of course I know your grandmother.
yeah, I mean, Geraldine is crazy. We love her. So the second time was we really did spend time to establish a relationship and knew the first part was, I mean, check mark on part one of the relationship. We had accomplished intimacy.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a friendship. So even when we broke up, I was like, I felt bad, but I didn't make a lot of it because I didn't have this whole like, okay, he's a friend. I've really hurt his feelings. It was more like, God, I was a jerk. That was a terrible thing to do to somebody. But it wasn't like I did it to a friend.
Yeah.
Fast forward to dating too, like we really did create a friendship and we were living in the same building and it was just like, let's make dinner together and hang out and let's go to the pool together and go to dinner with these friends. And then it was, okay, now we're cuddling on the couch and now we're dating again.
But then in that, so that we have, I like to consider it part one and part two.
Yeah.
Part two was not a sexual.
Right. It was flipped completely.
It was totally flipped because you and I went on vacation together to Savannah.
Oh, yeah.
And you would think, all right, so
We're going to get it on.
a younger couple is
And
going to
we weren't seeing each other because I was traveling. He was traveling. Like, there would be times where we would be apart for like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And for me, because I felt this close friendship with him, I just wanted to like catch up with my friend.
Yeah.
It wasn't this, I want to go, get busy. But I should have felt like that. And I didn't. And the thing is I know that he felt like that, but at the same time was okay. Well, at least my perception was you were okay with either.
I think we
But
were
Savannah
actually on
was
the
that
same
moment where it was
page as
like-
the conversation would be like, okay, we won't beat around the bush.
Break it down.
Okay, so you go out to the bar and you have a really good time. You start drinking, and then you want to keep drinking.
What? I don't.
Never.
I'm
I
drinking water.
sip. I sip.
But you go out to the bar, you have a really good time. And it's like you're sitting there talking to someone and you just keep going on and keep going on. And that is what we did on vacation in Savannah is
Yes.
we went to the bars and we sat there and we talked.
If anyone goes to Savannah, shout out to Jen's Martinis.
Oh,
because we were there.
best martinis.
We were there forever.
Every
Okay.
time someone mentions Savannah, I say Jen's Martinis.
Yes.
The Rice Krispie treat.
Is that the name of the locale?
Yeah, and they have like 220 martinis that this girl Jen, she created them. And if you go and get the Rice Krispies, there's like Rice Krispie chunks.
This isn't a James Bond.
Rice Krispie treats.
It's amazing.
It's not a James Bond martini bar. This is like a Rice Krispie and Oreo.
And it looks like a little hole in the wall.
What?
It's just a little alley. And they give you this double-sided menu.
Yeah.
And you just go for it. So
Absolutely
we were like, let's have like 10. And 2 in, we're like, sugar high. So let's go switch to vodka or something.
But then, like, we sit there.
That's before we knew what wine was.
Several drinks, and we have really good conversation. We go to another bar. We have good conversation. We go to another bar that might have like a drag show or something.
What's that?
That is when
There
a
are 4
man
people
dresses
there.
up as a woman.
There are 4 people. There are 4 people in the bar. I don't know if you remember that.
It
But
was
bottom
still
line
a
is,
good
but we
show.
went back to the
But
hotel
we
and
went back to
it never
nothing.
went to the next level.
Okay.
And so I think that's when we started to really know that. And actually, I think it just created some tension because I think we both like secretly wanted to, but couldn't figure out like why.
Yeah.
Why was it so easy the first time? At least for me, I was like, there was no problem the first time. And then this time around, we're like, why isn't this happening? Like, why don't I feel like this? But for me, and now years later, I now know, like, I just would have felt like if we had more time together and we could catch up like on just our lives, even though we talked every day, like while we were traveling and whatever, it's not the same as like being able to
It wasn't the
be
same
together.
type talking because
Yeah.
it would always be the same type of conversation. Well, how was your day? What did you do at work? And then it'd be like, well, how was your day? What did you do at work? Okay, well, I'm hungry, so I'll talk to you later. And it really was like that.
Yeah.
Because both you and I are two very career-oriented people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always put my career first. You've always done that
Yep.
as well.
Well, and my problem was, and the one person who really taught me this was Ryan, you always put your friends first and you care about what they think. You care so much about what they think that it's kind of blinding you from caring about what I think, meaning him, or what we think together. And he was right. Like and that was not only here in Nashville, but because was trying to build like this friend base and I was traveling. So the only people I had to come home to were like, I thought drinking friends, which is now looking back is actually not true.
Yeah.
But it did. I cared too much about what everybody else thought. And if I really cared about what they think now, I mean, people are like all the time, oh my God. I mean, that pilot all the time. People are like, oh my God, you dated him? I'm like,
he's gorgeous.
Get off of him. Like, leave him alone.
Like, back up.
Don't talk about him like that to me. It's making me feel uncomfortable.
And so that's when I kind of came in. It was that time period where everybody, because, okay, so.
It was in the mix of, were we just breaking up?
No, it was toward the end of part 1.
Okay. No, part 2.
Part 2.
Desert?
For the Atlanta.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
back at
Atlanta. So you came
Christmas
in
party
to that piece.
Yeah. And so, cut to, a couple years later.
Yeah, she's like, can we just fast forward, please? This isn't 40 minutes.
No, I mean, it's good to get backstory. But so how do you navigate this friendship? So when when I guess part 2 ended, was it more so a realization that you had more of a friendship than a intimate connection?
The agreement at the very last conversation we had at my place, you came over, and it was the day before I took a page out of your book with the honesty thing. When you know right now, just say. And I did. And it wasn't comfortable. Like, it wasn't a fun conversation, but we had it. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to speak to him again because of what happened the first time. And he came over the very next day, and he sat down, and I remember you said to me, I know that I don't like the last time how it went down, and I don't know what we're going to be, but I know that I want you in my life in some form or fashion, even if that's just friends. And from that moment on, then he moved back, and we really didn't have a friendship for a while, but it was said. So I think I felt like I knew that there was an open door to that, but we didn't act on that quickly.
Well, no, because like wounds
settle.
wounds always need to heal. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a wound there. And so it did heal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it took a couple years, though. We'd see each other out, but in terms of generating a conversation, I mean, that only happened in the last 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And I think even more so between us just getting a little older, and when I started hearing more about his career through people and through our mutual friend, and then we just would take the initiative to reach out. And I don't even know how it happened.
I'm getting younger.
Yes.
Like Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
I'm Benjamin Button.
Yeah, so I think it's a maturity thing, which is, what I think we'll start talking about is the different stages in your life. But I think it's just more so making sure that if you're gonna have a relationship with your ex, that you know that they have your best interest in heart, and that you can trust them. And I feel like that about one of my exes, Andy. We dated many, many years ago, and we're very good friends to this day. I would do anything for him, and I have his back, and I would support any decision. And it's the same as an adult and as a friend and whatever. I've got his back, and when if you go through a breakup, like, I feel bad about that. Like, I don't like someone to feel like that who I really care about. Yeah. Because now that we've had the part 1 of our relationship, which was super intimate charge, and then part 2, which is really friendship, and that's where we left it. Like, that's the lasting moment for me, is knowing that whether it's right now or not, we have busy lives, things are going to go on. But when you can connect just here and there and just have a little joke about even the past, and then you start talking about whatever's present, you can just move forward. So that's, I think, for me, how I've been.
True. We haven't, and the one very thing I'm very excited about is we have not had that kind of the jab of our relationship.
Yeah, no.
We've actually never done that.
Yeah, there's been no low blows.
No. I remember talking to you about the guy that you're dating right now. I think I want this to work out. And because we were talking on the phone a couple of months ago, and I'm like, you need to give this guy a chance.
Yeah.
And so that goes to show between
Yeah, the
going
advice
from an
was
ex-
take it more serious than you took us.
Yeah, going
was
from
the
an
point.
ex to a friend standpoint, and
Yeah.
I mean that's whenever you know that you've actually like reached that level of that friend from like relationship to ex to
Well,
And
almost
that is-
friendship.
almost like that feeling of you have healed from
Oh, for sure.
whatever happened.
Yeah, like, and it's because I think people go so long in friendships or relationships to say, I'll forgive, but I'll never forget. But that's one of those things where once you really establish that friendship and forgive, you really can forget, what happened, because it's
Yeah.
just not worth it to hold on to, because then you just live in.
I mean,
this
it's very
past
true
moment.
because you mentioned like you making out with someone during the first time. I haven't thought about that for years. And looking back
That's
on it,
why I brought it up, just to see.
your tires are flat.
What about you, Des? What is your kind of take on it? We've talked a lot, so I want to hear about your kind of take on
Well,
being able to continue.
I'm probably more on the same wavelength as you, Ryan, in that I tend to remain friends or am able to build or rebuild a friendship with whoever I've been dating. There's only there's only like maybe one or two folks that I just have no contact with whatsoever. And I wonder, I get asked this a lot. I remember being in Vegas and a partner and I, we broke up, and I had other friends who were, kind of figuring out some things in their relationship. They were like coming to me being like, hey, how did you guys figure this out? And, in the gay world, like you were saying, Ryan, about how all your friends, like everybody's like deeply connected. And it's kind of hard to separate because you're going to run into that person unless both parties move to completely different cities. Like you're going to run into that person or whatever, and you almost have to maintain this sense of cordial, connection. And so I guess with being gay and having such a tight knit community, it's different from when you're straight. Like you could find a life where you never run into that person again. But with us, we need to be able to navigate those spaces, and some people don't always do it well. You'll get a glass of Chardonnay thrown at your face.
Or you want to go out to a gay bar and you only have less than a handful of choices. So there's a good 1 out of 5 chance that your ex is going to be there.
Yes. And so what I've always told folks that have asked me, like, how do you do that? It's like, honestly, none of my majority of my relationships, they did not end in a deeply negative tone, in a sense that like maybe somebody cheated. Like nothing really happened. It was more like, okay, we came to this realization that we're more friends than we are lovers.
But you addressed it.
Yeah.
Like the first time we didn't address it. Second time it was addressed.
Yeah.
And that's probably why.
Yeah, when you address it, you can move on. It's when it just kind of ends abruptly and there was a misunderstanding that you never really got to hash out. That's when it's like, you see the person, you're like, you're all hateful towards them. But for the most part, the majority of my relationships, they kind of ended in that way where we understood what happened, and it's okay. It just means like, okay, we weren't necessarily meant to be in each other's lives in that way, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to continue being in each other's lives.
Yeah. Well, now I find myself, for example, current relationship, we spent months and months on the phone, and you get to know somebody in a friendship way, in a different intimate level. And so I think that has been why I've been able to be successful in the relationship I'm in today, is because we did establish that stuff up front, rather than vice versa. And then, so when we finally got to dating, like, it's like, okay, now let's figure out the other part of that.
Yeah.
And
kind of like something that you were talking about, taking time to get to know yourself, and not necessarily, so we're all kind of at this age where there's this pressure to like, oh, we need to find this partner
Right.
and settle down. And, you see people and it seems
Clock's ticking.
and you see people and it seems like they've got this perfect relationship and it's, whatever. But, taking time to ourselves and realizing like, we aren't on anyone's clock but our own.
Fuck that pressure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Seriously,
you're right.
fuck the pressure. Because, I mean,
The only one putting it
why
on
do
you
you
is
care about the other people giving you the pressure? It's your life.
Mm-hmm.
You are the one in control of your life.
Something that my stepmom said to me a long time ago, and it was when my very first boyfriend ever moved away, and there's a lot of drama that went with that. And then my best friend here, Dustin, was moving out. And I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, I've never lived alone. And she said, Ryan, when you live alone, you figure out what you like and what you don't like. And she said, even if it's that you want to throw your dirty laundry on the ground and not do it for a week, or if you want to be meticulous like your father and everything is in its space, you learn who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I value that advice that she gave me so much because she lived alone before my dad came along and had to learn that lesson. And so then when you bring someone into your life and then have to live with another person, which I did a couple of times before I was really alone. I'd always had roommates when they moved in. Then I really knew, like, especially when we came in a relationship, like just to come over and cook.
Mm-hmm.
I knew exactly how the cleanup was going to go, how it was going to look like, or the person I was living with, she was just going to leave her, her shit all over the place. Like but you
Or she would be sitting there eating with us.
Yes, but I did. So I lived alone for 7 months, and that was the very first stage in my life where I really did learn not who I was, but what I thought was acceptable in my household. Because the pressures of everyone saying, oh, you should still have roommates. You shouldn't be paying for this. You shouldn't be doing this. It's like a transitionary thing. And that, I think, keeps happening over and over again in your life through relationships or breakups or moments of alone time.
And you were saying something about maybe it was in a movie about the different, like, what kind of eggs you like.
Yes. So Runaway Bride is a movie that I referenced today where Julia Roberts is with all these different people and she can't figure out, like, he asks her, what type of eggs do you like? And she can't figure it out because every person that she's dated has liked either scrambled or over easy or whatever, a different type of prepared egg. And she cannot answer the question. And once she finally, ran away 500 times from the altar, discovered who she was and took that time to herself and made all of them and tried all of them, which is why you should try it all before you get married.
I don't like eggs.
You should try it all before you get married.
I don't like eggs.
Well, at least no eggs for you. But I think that just the point is from going from living by yourself the first time just to know where you want your towels to really knowing who you are, it just comes with time because of the pressures of society or family or whoever telling you should experience something a certain way or try it a certain way until you do it all, or at least till you find the one that makes the most sense or feels right, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It changes over time, I think.
And Justin, that's kind of where you are right now, where you're wanting to spend more time to get to know you.
Right. Because earlier, whenever we had met before this, I told you that for my New Year's resolution, I'm not doing any dating in 2018.
We have a record of this.
No, you have a record of, I said I would do no Starbucks. I think that was in 2013, and I perfectly did no Starbucks.
Really? All right. Well, we're going to hold you to it.
I could do Dunkin' Donuts or any of those other ones.
So she's not dating in 2018.
Not dating. So with not dating, what is it that you would like to do with this year?
For 2018, I'm focusing on myself. I've already got vacations planned. I've already started taking different lessons. I'm taking the skydiving lessons. I've already been scuba certified, but I'm redoing that as well. But going on vacations and just living my life. I don't want to have to come back here after I've gone. Actually, I will actually back up with that. Dating today is very hard.
Yes, it is.
So I'm
It's the
going
worst.
to Fiji for 2 weeks. So if I'm dating someone and this person isn't exactly comfortable with me going or is at my level, then I'm sorry, I'm still going. And then whenever I come back, they're not going to be as excited as I am going to be because they know that I'm going to leave in a couple more, like 2 more months to go to Greece. And so, one, I don't think it's fair to them. And two, it's definitely not fair to me.
To have that in the back of your mind while you're trying to, get your life in Fiji and Greece, you like, because so often what happens is that, you have a trip or a situation set out, but you're spending so much time and energy and emotional, uh, time thinking about like, well, this other person is upset because of this one thing, but this one thing is what's making you happy.
That's very true. And then, like, whenever I get home, because I do travel for a living, and I get home and I have anywhere between 2 to 5 days off, I have stuff in there that I want to do because, again, I'm doing for some reason, I've become like a huge adrenaline junkie, and I'm doing this stuff that I absolutely love. And so now on my
This is
days
one of these
off,
moments where in our friendship where I'm like, let's go skydiving. Let's go do something.
come with me. I'm going on the 14th.
I want to go hang gliding. You ever done that?
That's what I got my father for Christmas.
Really?
I don't want to get too far off topic, but what about those people who jump off the cliffs with like those wings attached to their wrists and like they literally fly down? I'm like, y'all are crazy. I'm not
Are
doing
you talking
that.
about like the Queen Latifah on Last Holiday?
No, honey. Listen.
Lord.
In Brazil, they literally jump off the rock and they've got like these human wings attached to their arms, and they literally like
What?
Yeah.
body dive and fly through the air. I'm like, nah,
How do
not doing that.
I have so many questions? Like, how do they land? What's
No.
going on?
It's all
Aerodynamics.
aerodynamics.
Yeah, it's just,
Oh yeah, you would know that as a pilot.
but listen, so he just took a trip recently to Australia, which I thought was awesome. And we talked about it for weeks and weeks in advance about what he was going to do. And I remember thinking to myself, this is so not the person that I have been used to, because and so that's a good thing. It's a moment in your life where I, even as your friend, see this transition from I'm going to be straight laced and keep doing what I do to I'm going to do something new because I have been in X relationship, Y relationship, held back in this way. And I'm just going to figure out what the heck I want. I'm going to scramble my damn eggs or jump out of a plane or get eaten by sharks or whatever I'm going to do. But you're
telling you
doing
what,
something different.
So the scariest thing I have ever done in my life was actually on that trip was bungee jumping. From 164 feet, whenever you look down at the ground from 164 feet.
See you soon.
Well, first of all, the worst part is having to climb all the way up there. And literally, so we're like climbing up this winding staircase, and a buddy of mine who went with me on this trip turned around and says, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm confessing every sin I have ever."
Well, you'd still be standing up there if you were doing that.
I had 164 feet. I haven't sinned that much. I'll take a sip of my wine.
So what about Des? You moved away, came back, and you've had pockets between your relationships, and you've been able to be friends too. Like, do you find that like there's these growth spurts? Not like the I can't hang like that anymore growth spurts, which we all have got, but like, do you have these moments where you are like, I am different, or I've grown in X way?
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm kind of dealing with now. Is that I do have a better grasp on what I do and don't want.
Yeah.
And I can better quickly realize when I'm not really being true to myself. So when I meet a person and then, we're talking or, trying to figure out if we're going to date or whatever, then I find myself kind of slipping into old habits. And then I realize, like, God, I do not like the person that I become.
Yeah.
When I'm dating someone and maybe it's not necessarily right. Like I just, yeah. And I pick up on it more, but it still doesn't stop me from doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so as
That's a
much,
human thing.
yeah,
Just do it.
just do it. I mean, this year has been has been great for really having that time to take to myself to see, who I am, what are my interests, what do I like to do, the self-reflection, because I've had more time to myself. And so I've been more focused on building deeper friendships with people, and not necessarily relationships like the whatever dating scenarios that I've had, which have been none, really, in the scheme of things. I am ready to like really date, but I don't know what it is about the state of Tennessee that I don't know if I'm just not people's cup of tea in this state. I don't know what it is, but I have definitely better luck in other states. And so that's something that I think about, and that I love being here, and I love my friends and family that I have here. But then it's like, I know that I probably won't ever, find
Settle.
love here.
So do you find it hard to meet someone to date?
It's funny how I have been able to find more people to date in my small town than I have been in Nashville, where there's a larger population. I don't know what it is about Nashville women, like they hate me, I guess. I don't know. But I've had more success in finding women who are, I'll say at least like interested in me in that way in a smaller town than I have in a city.
But I guess maybe, living in a smaller area, maybe there's some more like rooted values, and you like to be a little bit deeper and intellectual. And so maybe you're finding more of that. And I think Nashville in general, for me, living in Atlanta, and me even thinking, gosh, I wouldn't want to move back there anymore, because it's become this melting pot of, it's so different than it used to be. Like, you don't even know what you're going to get. And then you go to a city like when you previously lived in Vegas, and and everyone who moves there or lives there knows that it's a little bit more faster pace, like going to New York or going to LA, and you know that you're going to have that vibe already.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's because of how the city has changed dynamically, that it's not really found its place as anything yet, that there's just so many different people coming where it's not settled into being known for anything other than crazy. I mean, like,
Well, so before I moved to Vegas, I had never had a relationship. For some reason, it just eluded me here in the state. And so when I moved to Vegas, I was a serial monogamous person. I always kind of had, if I broke up with someone else, then there was usually like someone else next. And then there was kind of a dry period towards the end. But it
oh
was
my God, don't say dry period.
dry period. Oh. So, moving back to Tennessee, I kind of had a feeling that would be the case, but I had hope against hope or whatever. But what I found that's been interesting is that it's been more maybe women who probably more so identify as straight have shown more interest in me than women that are lesbian. Like the majority of my girlfriends, lovers, majority of them have been bisexual.
Okay. Does that scare you that they're going to like decide one day?
No, it doesn't scare me. And there's only been one instance where like we broke up because they definitely like needed that. The rest of them, like maybe we parted ways just because we realized we were more friends than lovers. But I've just never really got along well with other lesbian women, which is, I guess, kind of probably different than queer identified. But anyway, so for example, right, like when I travel, with, Tinder, that kind of stuff, or OK Cupid, I found what I'll do is an experiment.
Not often, every now and then.
But I will just kind of, get on Tinder or OK Cupid just to kind of see, and I get so many hits in certain cities. Like, when I've been in DC, when I've been in Chicago, when I've been in Atlanta, when I've been when I was in Paris, I got hits. I got nothing in Spain. I got like one, like
And where?
Spain.
Spain.
I wasn't in Barcelona that long, but like I kind of did a little bit of Barcelona and Madrid. And there was not a whole lot of activity there. It felt more like I was in Tennessee again. But once I got to Paris, there's like, I was getting some matches, on Tinder. But yeah, whenever I've been in DC, Chicago, or wherever, like it's boom, 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 boom. And so it's like, God, maybe I need to go. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's a diverse makeup. Like, for example, like no matter what I do, no matter how hard I work out, I'm never going to be one of these muscle queens. Like, I can get small, like I can get thin, but I'm never going to be that guy. So even previously in Atlanta, before I was in a relationship, like I would get hits or like talk to from people at the bar that were like more like that looked like me, because there is like this stigma of being around the people that look like you or whatever. And
True.
I rarely in Atlanta specifically see this relationship or this couple where I'm like, oh wow, that's odd. Like, wow, he's like really muscular and he's like really just average body, normal guy. Whereas sometimes here, when I used to live here, it was not abnormal to see, like a couple that had just differences physically only. But also part of, I think, living in a bigger city like Chicago's, DC's, being in Paris, it's such a diverse crowd of people that I think the stigma of what comes with the South sometimes, of the old stuff that in this day and age we are experiencing in America, a lot of stuff coming out of the woodworks that is really uncomfortable to think about, especially someone being from the San Francisco Bay. I grew up not knowing diversity wasn't even a thing to me. People were people. And now fast forward 33 years later, we're in this time where people are saying and doing things and segregating again. And so you get to some of these bigger cities like Atlanta, Philly, wherever you are, where they will not accept things like that. So maybe that's part of what you're experiencing, because even for myself, that I know that if I were to be back on the road and traveling, which, previous to my relationship, I could go on and in a big city hit.
Yeah.
But in maybe a smaller city or a city that's a little bit more like Atlanta, where there's like an image thing going on,
yes,
you get hit up by someone who is similar to you rather than, that someone who I might say in a modeling picture, oh, that's a really hot guy, may not ever say anything to me. Whereas when I used to live in Nashville, it would happen all the time. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about.
But with Tinder, though, like Tinder has completely changed the whole dating scene because you have this app. If you don't like that person's picture, you just swipe left.
Yes.
What was that?
What was that?
And you don't even go to even look at the other 5 pictures that could be absolutely amazing.
I'm going to plug something real quick. Do y'all remember hotornot.com?
Oh my God. Yeah.
This is like modern day Hot or Not.
Hot or Not.
And I had a roommate that I lived with who unfortunately was kind of abusing herself at one point. And it was over. It didn't start at this moment in time where we were living together. It was over judgment rating on Hot or Not. And now like there's this Tinder thing, which you can't see, what the other person thinks, but if you're a match or if you're not a match, and it is that initial instant physical connection. Like people like me, because my brain just goes everywhere. I'll sit there and, for example, one of my friends just moved to Atlanta and I took his phone. I'm like, swipe, 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 swipe. I'm just going after it for him, but it's purely the first thing that comes to my mind of what I think they look like.
Yeah.
And if you're really using it for what you're supposed to, if you're going to consider it like speed dating, get to know the little stuff, then you should maybe read a little bit.
Yeah.
And see what they have to say before you just do that, or else you're just wasting time. That's how I view it. And I can't even get on it. Forbidden.
Well, I was using it as a, especially when I was overseas, as a way to connect with a local. Because I was reading, because I'd never been out of the country before, so I was kind of reading up on ways or tricks and tips of how, like as an American going somewhere and trying to connect with another person in a different country where maybe there's a language barrier, and that so many people were using Tinder as a way just to kind of, just meet folks. And so that's what I was kind of doing over there, in that, I just wanted to meet somebody for coffee or, a glass of wine, just be like, hey, like, where do you hang out? Like, what's, cool in your city? And so I did end up meeting up with one person the last day of my trip in Paris, and it was a wonderful connection. We met up for coffee and talked. They were just they were going through or getting ready for their election, and we were talking about Brexit and how we just elected Trump and all this stuff. But it was more so about that. When I've been in other cities, it's been less about hookups, and that might have more to do with being a queer woman than anything, because we don't necessarily.
It's not the sexually
I feel
charged.
like
Not sexually charged.
On the lesbian side of the LGBT, y'all don't see the hookup scene like we do.
Well,
It's not as
see
prevalent.
it. Yeah.
I mean, certain communities, it's probably more prevalent, like maybe in LA or something like that. But it's not as prevalent because, allegedly, we're more looking for relationships or, whatever. And for me, myself personally, I have a hard time enjoying the physical with someone that I don't really know. Cause, I just,
Well, and your body just doesn't work the same.
exactly.
And
There's
that
a lot
is
more
the tough
work.
part, because like
Yeah.
even when you like really want it to,
Yeah.
you're like, I think I can. No,
Like if
can't.
if I, had the equipment that you guys were like, honey, I'd be the biggest whore.
yeah, you would.
in town.
She'd be like, you and you and you and you.
Yeah, I would.
Lot them up.
I wouldn't even bother being here right now. I would
Yeah.
just be hooking up with
This
people.
microphone would not
Should
be.
be on
This would
Grindr,
be
Scruff, Adam,
Yes.
Craigslist.
We have an app wall in this
Honey,
room.
I'd be everywhere.
But I think, and I just to kind of go on to your point about, in the lesbian world, it's maybe not be as prevalent. Like then you think about the men in our community who feel exactly the same way. Like they really want love and a relationship, and this stereotype or the generalized view or the norm of what people say the gay community are from the male standpoint. It's like then I hear people say, well, they're ruining it for me. And it's like, well, are they ruining it for you, or are you letting it ruin it for you?
Exactly.
But
And
where are
that's
you
tough.
looking at for this? Because again, it is very hard to date people, basically to
general.
find people. Because if you're
No matter
looking,
what you look like.
if you're looking
period.
for love on Grindr, okay, that's not going to happen.
First of all, you're the wrong place.
I don't know. I have a couple who have been together. They I don't know if they met on Grindr or what, but there's this whole Halloween costume around Grindr, and it was amazing. But they have been together for a long time, and they are by far one of the most loving couples. And I don't know what the source of their meet, but I think that Grindr is part of it. And they have just adopted a baby, and it's just such this amazing, amazing relationship and connection. So I think it's a rare find.
Yeah.
But
It's like
everyone's on
there,
there, friends only, and then all of a sudden it's like
Hey.
looking for. Well, my profile says friends only, so
friends
why
only,
does
or come cuddle.
yeah, right now. But and so I guess the point I was really trying to make is, when people try and classify that the community is ruining it for them, we can play the blame game all day long, but it's what are your values, and do you have a personality that probes someone else to talk to you? And I think that's part of it, is people can sometimes victimize themselves into not finding X, Y, and Z when really it just hasn't happened yet. It's not that they don't have a great personality, not a good person. It just hasn't clicked yet.
And a feeling.
And I'm traveling 16,000 miles away. I need to find somebody I'm clicking with. So it's just,
Well, then there's also that feeling of not knowing how to find a person or connect with a person outside of these apps. Like not, like we were talking about earlier, like if you were to move to another city and not know anyone, not have any kind of social connection, like how do you build that? And it's like, you kind of have to forge new territory. You go and volunteer and, join groups, hiking meetups, whatever. That's just to meet people, but you need to go into it thinking like, yes, I want to meet people and connect. And when you are feeling, good and about yourself and connected, that's usually when it happens.
Yeah, like what do I really like that's not just sex?
So we were talking about...
That is important, because even with me, if I were to move, like that's a big thing for me. Like, how do you be in a relationship and move to a new city and not know anybody and make friends? And the immediate, I think, response in our world today is, well, just jump on an app.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do that.
No.
So whenever at the end of our part 2, I mean, because I was still stuck in Atlanta for a while, I had no one because...
yeah, you came and we were immediately friends. And
then after it ended, I knew no one in Atlanta. So that is what... I mean, if you ever want to feel lonely, is live in a city where you don't know anyone except for your ex.
And all of their friends.
Yeah. So, I mean, that makes it really tough right there.
Yeah. And, kind of like we were saying before, like, I just say, you have to get outside of your comfort zone, and go to, meetup.com is such a great connector. I met so many, wonderful people, friends, women here in Nashville through a meetup group. I had a friend that had joined. There was a lesbian group here in Nashville, and a friend of mine that I'd known since I was in college. I would see her Facebook post about, she's hanging out with all these great people and they're, going to concerts and going hiking and all this great stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like how? And, a mutual friend was like, oh, like there's like a meetup group or something. And so it took me about 1.5 years to, get the guts to actually go to one of their meetups. And I finally did. And, you sit in the car and you gotta, kind of talk yourself up like, okay, I'm going to go. And then everyone else is dealing with the same thing too. Yeah. And so you're kind of on this even playing field. And
especially if it's the first meetup in general, like it's just been organized.
Yeah.
But I would imagine if it was like an established, then it would be...
It was established, but, a lot of times it's a lot of new people that are kind of coming in. And so what happens is that, like, let's say that you're meeting at a restaurant or whatever. And so what happened is that a person would walk up and it's like, hey, is this, such and such meetup? And like, hey, oh, yeah. And then they were like, well, hi, I'm so-and-so. And then everybody would just go and introduce themselves. And that's kind of what happened with everybody that came up. And so that's when I realized we're all, in the same place, that we're just trying to find people and connection or whatever. So you can't be intimidated by that, because, they're just like you. No one, because what you fear is walking into this cliquey situation.
Right.
And like maybe there's a bit of that when there's a larger event or more established event going on where they do it monthly or whatever. But most of the times the people are super friendly. And so I encourage you, to, as hard as it is, I know it's anxiety inducing, but step outside of your comfort zone, go to those types of things.
Yeah.
Go to your LGBT Chamber of Commerce event. There's always some group that's doing like a monthly social. Just go. I mean, it's tough, but try to have a conversation with them. And you know what? Don't even put that much pressure on yourself. Just say like, the goal is to just have the guts to walk in the door. And if you did that, then you feel like a success.
I have someone in Atlanta that moved from San Francisco recently. I guess it's been over a year. And he has been in the gay community in San Fran for a long time, has lots of connections, and moved because he found the right guy. He's one of my good friends. And so glad that he did. But they immediately, like, we're not really hanging out a whole lot. And I was like, well, this is odd. You just moved from across the country. And he is a little older than the person that he's dating. And he was like, well, I've always had my own friends. We need our own friends. And that was what was so awesome about, him being a little bit more mature, coming into it knowing, like, I can't just only have my new boyfriend's friends that I've moved for. I also have to have my own. And all these people are like, oh, you can go do all these things, the gay X League, do this, that. And he just went and joined the regular kickball league. He's like, I don't need to be LGBT only. I just want to meet people.
Yeah.
And I guess when you're from, and thinking back today, my thought process living in the South is meet gay people, gay friends, because you have to have a safety net, because that's how it is in the South a little bit.
Yeah.
And you don't know who you can trust all the time, so you want that security. But having someone come from San Francisco and where my roots are, to see him just be like, no, just people.
Mm-hmm.
And so to join just the kickball league, no matter who they are, and just be on a team of misfits that don't know each other.
Yeah.
And now he goes and does his own thing, and my friend and I do our own thing, but we all come together. And I just think it's to see that happen it's just about people. If you try and specify the kind of people you want to meet, that I think further diversifies and segregates where we are today. And we're just adding to, we're going backwards even further than we're already starting to go. Yeah. So just meet people. But when you moved to Vegas, even, it was like, no, you got to meet some gay friends and all this, because that was...
Yeah, the first half, the first 3 years, I was pretty hyper-focused on, because I was on the board of directors for the Gay and Lesbian Center, and then I was involved with HRC and some other organizations. But then the second half of the 6 years I was there, so the last 3 years, I was heavily involved in the art community, the downtown scene, and that was majority straight.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had more fun doing that than I did anything else. I mean, I loved, all the work that I was doing in the community and the activism, but what I was really passionate about was, being in the downtown art scene. And that's what I'm kind of missing today.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking like, God, like what I really kind of want, and reflecting on what did make me happy or does make me happy. And it was that I really want to get back involved in an art scene, and not just like my friendship circle now. Majority of my friends are straight. I have a lot of gay friends. I don't have a whole lot of lesbian friends, but I love it, because it's pretty well rounded, and we have a lot of the same interests. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, the same interests.
Well, it's not just about
gay
who
is
you're dating,
only just one attribute to you.
But it doesn't feel like that when you're younger.
Yeah, it feels like everything when you're younger, but then you realize it's not.
But yeah, I mean, we are in our late
80s.
20s and 30s. And whenever someone says, oh, this is my gay friend, I'm like, hold on 1 second.
Why can't I just be your friend?
There's a whole lot more to me than being gay.
Well,
that's only like
maybe not
0.2 out of 10 of all the qualities that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why does it have to be that?
But so I'm assuming that this was maybe like one of your straight girlfriends that introduced you.
You always see the straight girlfriends that always do that. Oh, this is my gay friend. No, there's more to me than just being gay.
Yeah, one of my I'm bringing this up just because it's sort of on topic with friends, is as I've gotten older, like in the middle range of mid-20s to late 30s, I got this is my gay friend, and maybe it's just because it was in that maturing stage of gay community. But at first, when I was here and I was in my early 20s, I have a friend named Tara. We've been friends forever, and something that she and I and my older roommate Kaylee would do is we'd go out and just be with all these people that were in different government campaigns, and I would just hang. Like no one would ever ask me. And then people would be like, they'd find out that, I was gay, and there would be this big, what? I was like, you got to be shitting me, right? Are you really questioning this? But it was just because we got to this space when I was in that group. I felt so comfortable, whoever she was introducing me to, or whoever we were hanging out with. And now looking back, they were just a little older business professionals. They just didn't care. That wasn't the focus of who you are. And then you're just a person. And then they find out this other fact about you, and you just hope it doesn't change you. And
right. There's always more personality traits, more attributes about you than just that one quality of being gay.
So I know a lot of gay people that can't do hair, can't decorate, can't do any damn thing.
Right.
So
do you have a honey for this week?
You go first.
Okay, I do have a honey.
All right, spill it.
Okay, so honey. It's like, honey. I see this all the time on social media, and I want to be like, honey, You're taking a selfie of you asleep.
What? Wait a minute.
Whether or not you are cuddling with your dog,
Yes.
your pillow,
Yes.
it's like
Your eyes are closed.
your eyes are closed. Honey, you did not get glamour shots or any private
God,
photographer
that is
in there
so
to
funny.
take a photo of you.
We see your arm.
Honey,
Stop
That's
it.
a good one.
Stop, baby. In 2017, going into 18. No, baby.
Honey,
my
the
goodness.
selfie of you being asleep.
That is so good.
One, it's to me, it's just a total
I feel like you put
turn
thought
off.
into that. That's a good one.
I did.
No, I have definitely felt the same way where I'm like, oh my God, stop. You're grown up. Like, that was cute back
We've
when
gotten
we
away
were on
from
MySpace.
duck lips a little bit, I think. I think duck lips are
But it has went to
slowing
the whole
down.
Snapchat thing because they have all their filters that you'll see someone with like a lamb,
A lamb.
like I don't want to say a lamb, but they'll have like the little ears on.
Oh, the little Bambi.
Oh, the filter.
Little
Little filter.
Bambi, yeah.
Oh, the sleeping Bambi.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
yeah.
See,
Girl, bye, wake up.
get up. Go to work.
Oh, that's funny.
Ryan, do you have
good.
one?
So I have one honey that's always a honey, but then I have a second one that just happened. So the first honey is, why are we still on Facebook incorrectly using grammar? What is the problem? Who's raising our children? Why can't you understand they are there?
Sometimes, you know
This
what?
is
I will
crazy
take
to
up
me.
for
Yeah.
those people.
That's a
Sometimes
permanent honey.
autocorrect just kind of like fixes
That is-
it, and
that's
you're
called
just
lazy.
like typing really fast, and autocorrect just like
But also,
moves it over, and you're like,
But if there's
also there's an
consistency,
edit button.
proofreading.
There's an edit button.
and there's consistency to some of these things, and even I have gone back to people and jokingly corrected, and oh ha ha accident, and then they don't update it. Well,
Right. Fix it.
So that's a permanent honey. But there's a honey that happened this week, and it's been more like frustrating, and I'm like, it has never happened to me in this format. But I feel like some of the communities sometimes they think that they got money. Honey, you live on credit. And I was at a Christmas party because 'tis the season of holiday parties, and someone told me, man, I don't know why we don't hang out more. We live in the same building. I think that we'd really get along. I've seen your friends. And he was inebriated and said, if you don't mind me asking, how much money do you make? Honey, I'm sorry. My paycheck is my business. I don't know why you're asking me, but enough
Right.
to survive, obviously.
I don't even know you.
Yeah. And I was like, so you're saying we should hang out more so you don't know who I am and you want to know what my paycheck looks like. And I responded with, I didn't say a
your
number.
credit score.
Yeah. Honey, 850 or better. But I responded with, and I don't even remember what I said, like, what, huh, something. And he thought I said a figure. And then he said, oh, well, I make 140. So we should definitely hang out.
Oh,
I was like,
God.
this is the epitome of how I thought that it was when I moved to Atlanta around. And my honey is, honey, don't try and talk to me about my paycheck if your credit score's low and your credit bills are high. Like, I don't want to know about all that. And I don't want to know how much money you make. And don't ask me. It is not your business. That's so inappropriate. And it just caught me off guard. And I had never been in this situation where someone really asked and said we should be friends because of a social status.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know if that's my social status. We just live in the same building. That is all this person knows about me. So I thought that's really wrong.
That's really wrong. It's presumptuous.
strange.
And
Honey, don't worry about me.
well, that's something that you run into a lot, definitely in the gay community, where there is definitely this feeling of class divide and the conversation around, like, what are you making? What are you doing? What are you buying? Where do you live? What are you driving? Like, all this stuff.
And maybe it happens in all communities,
Yeah.
but it just seems to be inflated.
I love the, oh, I never see you at the club. And then it's the, well, I never see you at the bank.
Oops.
Yeah. And priorities, life priorities. Maybe people aren't as materialistic as others,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So it just, I don't know, I guess it just caught me off guard. I had never been approached that way, and I was like,
that's weird.
Why do you want to know?
And now I don't want to be connected to you at all.
For sure, we will not be friends.
Because you're a mess.
But I'll still wave. My paycheck on the way to the bank. Bye.
You know what's funny is that I paid I always hated clothes that had like the labels all over them. I always hated that. However,
except Jinkos. Jinkos were the thing.
Jinkos. Oh my God, Jinkos, wide legs. I spent more money on. I never wanted external labels, but I bought from certain stores, and I put more, I guess, energy into buying from certain stores when I was in college and broke as hell than I do now. Now I'm like, girl, let me go to TJ Maxx.
Yes.
Let me go to this outlet mall.
I need a shirt. We're gonna tie-dye it anyway.
Because it's more about, this is I want a classic look of something. I don't care about what's trending right now because I'm too old to be wearing it anyways.
But I love how lax art style has gotten where you can just like color block with some basics and you still look good.
You still look good.
Yeah, throw on your chucks.
But we were so pressed when we were younger and like not really having a,
Abercrombie had $110 for some torn up jeans.
Right.
Yes.
But today, now that we actually do have an income, we're like, ooh, I ain't paying that, girl.
Sorry. My 401k needs some money. Sorry.
The cable bill is due.
Right. Maybe I got,
well, not mine.
Honey, I got bills to pay. I got to pay the band. I got to pay the girls.
Yes, that's right.
I would say my honey is kind of going back to the holidays. So listen, it has been Christmas
Linda.
For forever.
since Halloween.
It's been Christmas for months now.
I know people that put their tree up 3 days before Halloween.
Stop
honey,
it.
like,
stop it. That is not okay.
Like, I don't know if it's...
Alinda would never do something
Alinda
like
would
that.
never. Alinda would not have her life together enough to have her tree.
Linda hadn't even got her ornaments yet. She broke them all from last year. And she broke.
And the ornaments are broken. But yeah, it just feels like I don't know if it's just what's going on in the world this past year, but I'm just not in my usual jovial Christmas mood because it's like, it feels like it's been Christmas for forever. I was talking to somebody about this just this week. It's like, honey, we're a week away, but it feels still so far, like yet so close, but still so far away. And I'm just ready for it to be done because it's been Christmas for like months now.
But then on the other side, Alinda, like me, thinks, but January 2nd means I have to go back to work.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But which is worse? Christmas, I think.
Yeah.
All this stuff.
Starting before.
All this fake snow.
All this fake.
My God.
See, this is the holiday season. The holiday I like is like the New Year's. That's the one I like. Christmas is great.
Because he's going to be dating for the next few days. He is about to stop. So he cannot wait to stop.
It cuts off
Today's
January
the
1.
22nd.
He's like, listen, my
hit
date ends at 11
10
p.m.
more days. Call me.
He's on Scruff. He's going to be on Grindr for like the next
Call
10
me.
days.
Handle is available now.
But do not call him after January 1.
Yes,
No,
honey, take the decorations down.
But I mean, this is coming from someone that, went to New York, specifically to experience Christmas in New York one year. I wanted to just see all the decorations and walk up and down Fifth Avenue, all this.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
The Rockefeller Christmas tree.
Yes,
And
I
now
loved
you're like,
it.
stop.
I'm like over it.
Yeah.
Like I can't even really get into the music this year. Because
Well,
it just starts so
Fun
early.
fact, if you go to the other side of the equator, i.e. Australia, everything is painted with like Santa Claus and snow on the mall, because everything's outdoor mall stuff.
Yeah.
So all of the murals about Santa are the same as the North Pole. And it's 110 degrees outside on Christmas, and you're having a barbecue and a beach day. And you get out there for 8 minutes, and you're like, I'm burned. So it's time to go inside and have an air conditioning day. So if you want to experience the end of Christmas quickly, there are no real decorations anywhere, just paintings everywhere.
Just painting.
And it's warm, beachy, and burnt skin.
I think that's what I'm doing next
Do
year.
it.
Let's do it. So. All right, my lovely Lindas, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us for this
you.
extended period.
This extended couple of Lindas. Hit us up at coupleoflindas@gmail.com if you've got questions, suggestions. You want us to help you to get your life together, because obviously we have all the answers.
Clearly.
The phone lines are lighting up.
They're like, listen.
Something
Let's
is.
take a call from our
Something's
listeners.
I think that's your grinder going off a whole bunch ago. She said,
Ding,
I got 10
ding,
days
ding.
left.
So, Justin, thank you for hosting us.
Thank you for coming.
And we'll see you next time on A Couple of Lindas. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.